All right, today let's talk about, is it actually possible for a normal person to afford a house in Santa Cruz County? So I think it was on Threads or Twitter, one of the text-based social medias, somebody said it's absolutely impossible to buy a house in California if you're not ultra wealthy. True or false?
It's difficult.
Okay, difficult.
Yeah.
Well,
not easy.
And now he generalized to California.
Yeah.
In California, I mean, you can go way out to Bakersfield, Fresno, go way up north. It's too broad.
Yeah, for sure.
No, you don't have to be ultra wealthy. That's for sure.
Right.
I was being a little silly, but yes, there is definitely, it's more difficult.
Yes.
But we have a lot of options people aren't aware of, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
you're not going to get that house that is on MTV Cribs, with the pool and the whole 9 yards. However, you need a nice place to live. There's a lot of good options in Santa Cruz County and our surrounding areas.
Yeah. And honestly, you're not going to get that house anywhere. Like even some of those houses are in Tennessee and they're $14 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. $14 million in Tennessee. It's going to get you more than $14 million will get you here. But Vanessa, especially in the last month, has closed 2 clients that were both under $600,000.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, yes, compared
And
to
it wasn't easy,
it
but it
wasn't
was
easy.
doable. So
But and compared to other parts of the country, yeah, that's a lot more. And there are ways to afford homes. Last week, we talked about down payments not having to be 20%, right? Like if you might be able to buy a home for just say $50,000 out of pocket, $50,000 to $80,000 is a lot more affordable. But we wanted to talk about in Santa Cruz County, there are a lot of options for people that are not ultra wealthy, whatever the heck ultra wealthy actually
right?
means.
Yeah.
So in Santa Cruz, obviously we have like the main part of Santa Cruz. There's a lot of beach homes. There's, the closer to the beach it gets more expensive. But what other options do we have out there?
Well, yeah, if you want to be in Santa Cruz proper, let's call it, you want to be walkable, urban, and there's a bunch of different pocket neighborhoods. There are options out there in both the condo townhome market that are, down as low in the 600s. And there's also manufactured housing. We have some great parks and communities that are 400,000 to 700,000.
yeah.
I think that are livable. I mean, there's some cheaper options, but the space rent's out of control, things like that. But I think for the majority of what's out there, right? I mean, there's options in that $400,000 to $700,000 range.
And we're talking like walking distance to the beach.
Oh yeah,
Like again, think of specifically in Capitola, there's a couple out there where you just walk right down either 41st or 38th, kind of right in there. Walk down your walking distance to Pleasure Point, one of the most desirable communities in the county, I would argue. And you can get in for under $500,000 with a little bit of space rent as well.
Totally. And it doesn't have to be your forever home, right? I mean, this is just fixing your housing cost. You could stay there for as long as you want, but you have a piece of an investment in the community where you now are able to, as inflation, things rise, your housing cost is fixed. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, that home will be worth more money and you could then springboard that to something else or stay right where you're at.
Absolutely. That's exactly the conversation that I had with my buyers that purchased a townhouse. It's like there's stepping stones to this. You got to have something to trade in to get that bigger thing, right? So they wanted to move into a single family home with a nice backyard, nice remodeled home right away, but under 600,000, that's very hard to come across, especially because there's so many buyers within that range that it brings the prices up. And so if you get priced out, then you kind of have to reassess your situation and say, okay, what can I afford comfortably? And how in the future is that going to help me attain what I actually want? So
Good points. That's very true.
And with manufactured housing, we'll often come across somebody from other states, like in the Midwest, where they say, I lived in a mobile home as a kid. I'm never going to do that again. Right. And this is, if people haven't seen some of these homes these days, we're talking, I've been in some where you don't even recognize that it was a home that's manufactured, or mobile home, meaning it was manufactured elsewhere, brought in on a trailer and installed in a park. Right. And some of these, especially we sold the one in Watsonville in that park down there, that some of those homes next door were amazing.
Yeah.
Right. High quality.
They're super high quality, and the finishes, and you get to, potentially, you get to, if you park that maybe has an old one, you can take out the old one, put a new one in, you can pick out a house. It's like model home shopping, right? You pick out the floor plan, things like that. I mean, those are a little bit harder to come by, but they're definitely a possibility. I mean, people should at least open their eyes to it.
Yeah.
At least explore it. And that's what we're here for, is just at least, what does it look like? And if it's for you, great. If it's not, no problem. We've got other options for you.
Yeah, let's go look at one. Maybe you'll hate it.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll love it.
Exactly. You don't know.
What about condos? Condos in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, we've got a lot of condo options, right, Vanessa? I mean, there's, again, there's some that are very close. We got one that's off of 14th Avenue in Santa Cruz that's walkable to the beach, the harbor, and
we have one up the street from us. We have condos up the street.
$700K.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of options in that range, and low maintenance, right? You want to get into something, you're first time home buyer, you're worried about, replacing a roof, or how do I maintain this? These all have generally newer windows, newer roofs. HOA takes care of the exterior maintenance. Maybe you got to update the interior, whatever. I mean, there's still stuff to do, but again, it's a great investment. It gets you into real estate, right? I mean, a condo is a piece of real estate.
Yeah.
So,
in Capitola specifically, where our office is, there's 2 condo communities kind of on both sides of us, where you're sitting about $650,000, 2 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. Some of them have 2 bathrooms, and again, walking distance to multiple beaches. Right, walking distance to, especially the one it's called Capitola Shores in the Jewel Box. Walking distance to Whole Foods. Walking distance to all that regional transportation. It's you're getting a lot for the dollar. You are, if you were expecting to buy like your, estate single family home, you're going to get less home, but there's a lot of upsides too. And so we see those. What's nice about those is they come up often. But then people also stay there a long time too. It's just that there's a lot of them available.
Yeah, no, cool design, great layouts too, right? These one, they're they call them McEwens. They're basically these, this gentleman designed these things. I mean, the 60s probably throughout the Bay Area. They're all over the Bay Area.
Sacramento as well.
Yeah. So I don't know the whole history behind it. We should talk about that sometime. Just curiosity, right? But really good layout. Basically, a cluster of 4 homes, right, that are put together. And once you see one, the layouts are all pretty similar. So you want like remodel ideas. I mean, we could find you some cool photos of like ones that have been dialed.
Some good comps. Yeah.
You can really fix them up. They're really easy to work on. So anyway, they're very, very cool.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Totally.
What if you wanted an actual house? Is it possible to find single family homes, say under $1 million in Santa Cruz County?
Yeah. So here we're going to go now. So now for a single family home, we're going to have to leave the city limits, so to speak, right? You're going to have to go outskirts of Santa Cruz, San Lorenzo Valley,
South County.
So there's Watsonville, Aromas, deep parts of Aptos.
Yeah, even we just saw one in Aptos, $899.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's a great house.
Yeah.
It's a great house.
Yeah. There's a whole backside of Rio Del Mar that are some good starter homes that are, in that $800K range. So there's options out there. Again, it's just being open-minded, being flexible on what's there. And what do you need out of a house? Right? So I think somebody who's like, hey, I'm okay doing a little bit of work and I don't mind a little mountain living and dealing with some, tree trimming and power outages, then maybe that's your good way to go for your first home. Or someone's like, no, I want to be super urban. I don't want to deal with anything. A manufactured house in Santa Cruz is a great option for that particular person. So, and then in the middle is your condo townhome buyers, so we kind of have a pretty vast options. If you look for a under $1 million, what can you get? There's quite a bit.
Well, one thing that's always kind of interesting because we're coastal California town. And so I think sometimes we get kind of pigeonholed in kind of like with the orange counties, where it's like there's an agent down there, he puts out his reports, and on his reports, he'll be like, here's how many homes are on the market over $20 million. It's like, we don't have that. We're not that. We're actually, a majority of our homes are under 3 million. And we're talking of all homes. We've only had one sale at 15 million ever. I think it was of residential.
Yeah.
And so we're on the bargain end, if you will. But
that's the nice vibe about Northern California, right? There's definitely, it's not as it's not as populated, right? And so you just don't have that drive. You don't have. It's very different from SoCal. That's a whole other podcast we could talk about.
Other beast.
But I think that there is a lot. We've got a lot of traditional single family home, 1.5 million. This is where if you want a true single family property with a proper lot, flat, whatever, urban. That's the starting
Columbia
point.
comes to mind when I think of like a
Columbia
regular
Street,
3-bed.
yeah.
It's 1.6 million, 2 blocks to the beach.
Yeah.
3 blocks to the beach.
So there's options out there. Again, it just at all different price levels, and so and where these buyers coming from that are buying these homes that are 1.6 to 2 million, they're either done very well, they're in the right career, or a lot of them are trading up. They bought a condo or townhouse. We're selling that for them. They're then pocketing $300,000-$400,000 equity to springboard that as a down payment into their new home. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, being in this industry for as long as I have now, I'm having a lot of that where people have been in their properties 15 years.
Yeah.
And wow, the amount of equity they've made that has allowed them to kind of, move their lifestyle with their salary and with their jobs. It's a good, but you got to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere.
Exactly. So there's an entry level and knowing where you're at and talking to us, we'll teach you.
You had mentioned the buyer that if they're willing to do a little work, right? So that's when people call it sweat equity, elbow grease, right? Like where you're going to get a home that's a little bit cheaper because maybe it needs some updating. That's both the first 2 houses I bought, they were in that condition where they were getting passed up because something was off. It didn't look great and we didn't have to put in much effort. But sometimes we get buyers they'll find a fixer, like a true fixer of a house. And they say, oh, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to live in it. I'm going to fix it up because I'm getting a deal if I do this. Let's talk that. Pros and cons, myths.
Right. I mean, Vanessa, you've probably seen this too a lot with the buyers you're working with.
Especially in the range that I work with, it's definitely more of that. Like, hey, I want to buy a house that needs a little bit of work. I'll live in it, work on it as I go because I'm trying to save money.
Yeah.
So like,
and for the right person,
the right person, it works.
And that's where we can educate you too. We have all the experience where we've worked with these buyers at all different levels. We have the contractors, or we have all these things. Somebody who has the means, it's a good option.
Yeah.
If you don't have the means, you need to know what it really costs
Yes.
to fix it. I think to your point, Jason, kind of why you probably brought this up, we'll help you figure that out.
Yeah.
And realize maybe this isn't the right option for you only because it's going to be the money pit.
Exactly.
It's going to be
The money pit.
Yeah, right. I know that's
Old reference. We'll explain it to Vanessa later.
I know. I was like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. And I'm just kidding.
Basically, we'll help you avoid those pitfalls and realize, hey, maybe you don't have the capital to make those improvements. You should start out with something that's more move-in ready. And then, again, that serves a purpose, 5 years, trade up, get into something else. And make those improvements. But let's talk about somebody who has the means. Maybe they have a contractor in their family.
Or they are a contractor.
Yeah.
They're handy. There are opportunities out there on properties that have deferred maintenance.
Definitely.
And you can still get financing. I mean, it doesn't have to be cash. Obviously, you're going to compete in that price point. Fixer-uppers do have a lot of cash because there are people out there that are turning these homes.
Yeah.
And so you have to deal with that. However, don't be discouraged. I would say reach out. We'll show you properties that need work and you can make money on them. I mean, I make money. I say, fix them up, live in them, don't pay rent and enjoy the appreciation.
Yeah. Like we can help you assess the situation and see if it's going to be a good turnout or not, whether it's going to be too much of a money pit, whatever that is. No, I'm just kidding. Or if it's actually doable.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, and there's also financing considerations in there, right? Because if somebody sees this deal, they go on Zillow and it's, our average price being over $1 million and this is $499, right? And they're like, I literally had this happen last year where they saw when it was like $699. We're like, no way. Like this thing, even in its condition, should be closer to $1 million. Ended up selling for like 900. But their plan was, we're going to use the first time buyer program that we got pre-qualified for. We want to put 5% down. We want to buy this. No. Tough chance to get the bank and that program to approve that one. Yeah. Now there are programs out there, right, that can help them get pre-approved for that. But kind of your typical lending programs, Fannie Mae, those types of programs, they don't always love, depending on what's wrong with the house, what they can see publicly, they don't always love those houses.
No, they don't. And, and we do, there's solution to that. There's a renovation loans that, that we have these 203K and 203B, whatever, these renovation programs that are out there, but they're difficult. They're hard. Yeah. But, again, it's one option we do have. So you'll reach out to, we'll tell you, this is lendable, this is probably not lendable, and that'll help whether, depends on your financial situation. What do you look at, right? So what is it something that you are really going to have a chance at? Those are kind of some things we can answer those questions for you. Yeah. A lot better than the internet.
Look at us, better than the internet.
That's right.
One more thing about the internet is sometimes we'll get leads for, look at this vacant piece of land. It's $100,000. I'm going to take my tiny home that I saw on HGTV and I'm going to park it right in the middle of that land.
I'm going to buy the tiny home from Amazon and I'm going to put it on the land.
I saw it on a boardpanda.com, Facebook, whatever. And I saw I could buy this house for $10,000 and just stick it in the middle of the land.
Yeah.
True or false?
False 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, most of these properties are rural, first of all. So they're these vacant lots. They're not in an urban footprint. And so there are some major regulations. We all know fire dangers. It's been a hot topic for, the last decade.
Especially in our county. So most of these properties don't have proper access to the lot itself. So in order to make that lot buildable, you're going to have hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million in road improvements before you even start to deal with the soils reports and all the other engineering things that have to happen. So it just makes these lots not feasible to build on. And that's why they're for sale for $100,000. We call them recreation lots, right? That's why they're $70,000 and somebody's calling us like, hey, I want to buy this land for $70,000, but there's nothing that you can do with it, really.
Exactly. And you look at the history of some of these lots, they were advertised 15, 20 years ago for $70,000, never sold. And now they're backlisted for how much have homes gone up in the last 15 years, right?
And the land hasn't.
If it's not buildable, right? Just because it's just a piece, it's a recreational piece. Now there's some cool recreational pieces out there, for $500,000, and you can go ride your dirt bikes all day long. You can go have a picnic.
You can camp.
Camp. But you can't come put permanent structures up and you can't live on the property. You've got to have a lot of other,
even besides fire. So like you said, you have access, you have fire. Septic is a huge topic right now.
Sewer, system, water, electricity.
Yeah. Getting water can be a very costly endeavor. If you have to drill a well down 100 feet, that gets extremely expensive. And so, people kind of come with this idea of the dream. Everybody's dream is to get the cheapest house possible. But did you know Santa Cruz County has the tiny home on wheels program? So we're one of the only counties I know of that does it, where you can actually get a piece of land and put a tiny home on wheels on it. And they have all sorts of regulation around, this is the size, this is what it would have to look like. This is
the amount of parking required.
And even some regulation around, are you able to even put parking there? Does parking already exist? But it is a way to, if you can obtain a specific lot, and you don't want to have to spend, we're sitting around usually $500 a square foot to build a house. So if you're willing to put in the infrastructure side, which could be $100,000, $200,000 if there's already access to it. If you're willing to put in that couple $100,000 plus obtain the land, but then don't want to build, and you're okay with a tiny home being under, I think it's a couple hundred square feet. I forget what it is, like 180 square feet.
Fortified trailer, basically.
Tiny.
But it's literally on a trailer. And so it's like, if that's you, totally possible. And if you want to do it the legal way, it's going to take some time and go through a process. But at least I feel like we're finally seeing the county loosen up on some things.
Access. Again, if you find a piece of property that's right off a public road, and you don't have to cut a big driveway, then it could be very feasible. Your next expense would be the septic systems. The problem is now you've got to have over 1 acre of land in order to get a permit for a new septic.
Not only that, but I feel like a lot of people that are leaning towards doing that already don't have a lot of money to start with.
Like
the
if
reason
you're
they're
using
going
this
this
as your
route,
cheap route,
this is like their cheap route, but in reality, it's not the cheapest way to go.
It isn't. But if you're watching this podcast and you're one of those people that is like, yeah, I'm curious, genuinely curious, or I'm one of those ones that was wanting to buy a $100,000 lot. Call us anyway. Let's tell you how
still
it works.
look at it. Yeah.
I mean, we'll explain it to you, and maybe you have a special situation, and it might something that could work. But we'll also just give you an education on it because it's so misleading online.
Yeah.
We see it every day. We've got references. We can give you clients. We've got reviews. I mean, people trust us. They know us. They've worked with us. We've done the homework. We've been doing this so long. So
like we're not just real estate agents, we're consultants. We're advisors. We know what's going on, and that's why you come to us to get the information. Yeah.
100%. Yes. So yeah, land is a big one, and that's we can probably keep going on that one.
I know the land is.
I have someone that we'll bring on another episode where she designs houses and helps people go through the process. Because Santa Cruz County, not an easy process. And you see some of these, there's different companies that will they'll do a manufactured home on land for you, and they make it, you go to their website, they're like, oh, we'll deal with the county for you. And it's like, whew, like, yes, it's possible. And there's some things that we can help somebody identify first to see, is it even going to save you money? Because I went down that process with one of the companies. It was going to cost the same amount of money. It was going to go faster. That was the biggest thing, is that when we brought in, if we were to go down that route, it was going to be faster than doing a traditionally built home. It wasn't going to save any money though. And that's the point of this episode was, is it going to be cheaper? No, it was still going to cross $1 million, especially when you consider purchasing the land in addition to it.
Yeah.
But you can move faster. Great. You also don't get a custom home at that point.
But all of this to say, you can find deals in Santa Cruz County. You just
don't have to be ultra wealthy to own a home in 2024 in Santa Cruz County.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple.
You just
Call
gotta
us now.
Yeah.
We'll tell you more about it.
Because next year, you have to be ultra wealthy. No,
Yes, next year is going to get harder.
No. Yeah, we're happy to share more information. So it's awesome.
Anything else?
It's good.
I think we're good.
All right. Till next week.
Next week.
There we go.